Yo, what's up, guys? Beast Puppy here with my boy Porkisss. We're gonna be breaking down the Dolphins. We got the Dolphins insider slash expert here, Porkisss. Porkisss, why don't you go ahead and just talk about who you are? Just give, talk about yourself.
I'm Big Pork, the Heathster, throwback logo only Dolphins fan. You know how we get it over here. Super Bowl looks like big possibility this year. He might have something to say about that, but we're gonna get into this. So
Yeah, and when I told my brother, he's been on some videos as well, that Porkisss was coming on to break down the Dolphins with me, that the first word he explained for Porkisss was passionate. And I think that's just him to a T. I mean, so we got a passionate Falcons fan and a very passionate Dolphins fan. It's gonna be a fun little episode. Gonna be fun to talk about. But yeah, let's go ahead and just get into it real quick here.
Let's get it.
Additions wise, what we have.
Additions, we got, obviously we got Jalen Ramsey. We got little offensive line depth with Isaiah Wynn, Kelvin Joseph, Deshaun Elliott, who's hurt right now, but I think he's going to make an impact. Mike White, don't love him as the backup, but...
You see, I actually love Mike White as the backup just because we all know how suspect Tua is when it comes to the injury bug. And so you bring in a dynamic player on a dynamic offense in Mike White. I actually like the backup signing, but he can go into why he doesn't like it.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest... I mean, just from what I've seen, I liked what I saw from the Jets last year, but, I mean, they've got talent everywhere, so... But then again, he's got the exact same thing with the injuries. But I think the biggest addition that we actually made in, throughout the entire offseason was Vic Fangio. I think that, that defense is going to be nasty. It's a totally new scheme. Everybody's using this scheme. They've been using it ever since Vic came out with it. He took a year off football last year to just watch film, break down everything. He liked what he saw from us. So, I think we're gonna have a really good year defensively.
Yeah, that's incredible insight too. I'm really happy how you brought up Vic Fangio, because I always try to bring up the new OCs, DCs, head coaches. That's obviously something that I missed here, and I was not going to bring up. So that's awesome that we have that here.
Oh yeah.
Who we lost? Obviously, he said earlier, lost Mike Gesicki. I actually, tell me what you think about this Noah Ingbinogi. How do you say that?
Get him up out of here. We should have done it 2 years ago. He sucks. He has one interception last year against the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of the Dolphins fans were very happy and, very glad about that. I was not, because he was getting burnt the entire game before the rookie quarterback threw the interception, right to him. So, yeah, Iggy, I'm super glad he's gone. I'm glad we traded him
for Kelvin Joseph from the Cowboys.
Yeah, Kelvin Joseph, that's just more, cornerback depth. He's going to be the fifth cornerback once, Ramsey gets back. So,
and I actually love the trade, just because obviously Kelvin Joseph was a second-round pick, a high second-round pick out of Kentucky. He was really good at Kentucky. He's had a lot of off-field problems as far as just staying out of trouble. Obviously, it didn't work out in Dallas, and obviously, it didn't work out in Miami for Noah. No, I don't know how to say his name. Igbenogany. And so I like the swap there. It's not necessarily any potential. I don't think anyone's going to necessarily get better. But I like it just for cornerback depth, and it's just a new system, just new fresh start for both players. I think it's a win-win for players and franchises.
Yeah, I really like that. Honestly, I think that it's sometimes players get drafted in systems that they're not supposed to be in. Sometimes they get drafted in positions that they're not supposed to be in. In Iggy's case,
let's get into the draft here, real quick. Cam Smith from South Carolina, the corner, and Devon Achane, the running back from TAMU, Texas A&M. The two most notable draft picks I just wanted to add for them. I don't know a whole lot about Cam Smith, so I'm gonna have Porkisss just tell you what he likes about him.
Yeah, I mean, he's real long. He's real rangy rather. Sorry. He's got really good ball instincts. He doesn't get all the picks, but that guy will swat anything that comes around. We saw it in the preseason. Just a dog. He got a little banged up. Devon Achane also got a little banged up.
Yeah, he did.
Kind of sucks right now because...
How long is he out for? Do we know?
Uh, So head coach Mike McDaniel said he was practicing this week along with Jalen Waddle. This guy's kind of a monster. I mean, honestly, the one guy I would compare him to as far as his skill set and what he can do, especially with the ball in his hands, is honestly Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill came out of the draft as a running back, was converted to a slot receiver. Now he's a number one receiver. I don't know if Devon Achane is going to be able to go up for those 50 balls like how Tyreek is or anything like that, but I could definitely see him moving into the slot, doing a little bit what McCaffrey does in San Francisco. They run pretty much the same system, so I don't see why not.
Yeah, I think everyone's extremely excited to see Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and Devon Achane on the same offense here.
Oh, yeah, man.
But let's get into their roster a little bit. So, obviously, we got Tua Tagovailoa. Me and Parker have very differing opinions on him. We will get into that. Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane as their running backs. They got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle as their main receivers, and I like how they brought in Berrios to just kind of help out the depth. And then, obviously, they have Cedric Wilson, who's going to play all over. He came from the Cowboys a couple years ago. He's actually really good.
Yes, sir.
Kind of had an off year last year, am I right? But he's new to the system. I like him a lot. And then tight end-wise, I know nothing about Durham Smith. I'll let Parker explain that once I give you my grade on the just the skill positions here in the roster. I have them with an A-. Minus being I'm not a huge Tua guy, and not sure what they're doing tight end-wise. And running back is still a question mark with the 31 or 2-year-old Raheem Mostert. But
right.
That's why I have the minus. But I love what they have skill position-wise.
Alrighty, yeah. I mean, I think this is probably one of the most slept on and well-rounded, sides of the ball in the entire NFL. Obviously everybody's going to talk about Tua, but I am looking at this as if he's going to stay healthy because, most of the time when we're talking about a preseason, a team, before the season starts, we're never talking about, oh, well, if their quarterback gets hurt, then, they're fucked.
Talking about fully healthy here.
Yeah, Tua, if you look at who everybody compares him to with, Justin Herbert, they had almost identical stats last year, and I think Herbert may have missed one game with his ribs, or maybe two. Tua missed 5 games. Okay, he had the exact same amount of touchdowns. He was 200 yards short, which he could have gained with one Tyreek Hill performance, and he had less interceptions, which he played less games, but at the end of the day, they're very comparable.
Who is this you're comparing him to again? Sorry,
Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert. Okay.
Yeah. The guy that everybody talks about when it comes to Tua. They played very similarly last year. I think at times Tua played better. I think at times Justin played a little bit better, especially on their head-to-head that they played. But yeah, getting off the court, I don't want to stay on that too much. I think Raheem Mostert's going to have a big year. Hopefully he could stay healthy because our running backs are pretty banged up right now.
So who's the guy? Who's the running back in Miami right now? Is it 100% Raheem Mostert?
Yeah, for now it's Raheem for sure.
Is it ever going to transition to Devon Achane? Ever? As far as mostly on the field?
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, maybe in a year or two.
I mean in this season.
No, this season I think Devon is going to be more of a gadget guy, more of a Darren Sproles to.
Fantasy owners, you hear that? It should be all Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, I would pick Raheem. Nobody's picking him this year in fantasy.
He's very low in drafts. I had a couple drafts. He's very low in drafts.
Yeah.
I went Devon Achane because I was hoping that maybe he'd take the reins, but it doesn't sound like it right now.
Yeah, no, and Miami ran the ball. I think it was a little over 20% of the snaps last year, which, Mike McDaniel really, this offseason has made it a point that, he's going to stick with the run game. That's his roots, but it gets a little flashy when you got, Tyreek and Jalen and, some of these other guys that we have, like you said, Berrios is going to be amazing. Eric Izukama, that kid, this is his second year. I think he was drafted out of Texas Tech. He is a big receiver that, we're going to be hopefully putting in there to throw some 50-50 balls to. He looks a lot better than last year. I'm hearing a lot of good things at a camp. Our receivers are stupid. We understand that. So let's go over down to tight end.
What about who's the guy at tight end here? I honestly don't know any of these names.
Yeah, so
other than Tyler Kroft, obviously.
Yeah, Tyler Kroft is a vet, but we got Durham Smythe, who's been on the Dolphins for I think about maybe 4 years, 3-4 years. Mike Gesicki's been the guy that we have out there. The biggest reason why we got rid of Mike Gesicki and we kept Durham Smythe is because, when Mike McDaniel came in, he completely changed the entire offense. We had more of a spread kind of, kind of like an early spread type of scheme that, it didn't fit Tua very well. But it was really good for Mike Gesicki because they would line him up, in different. He never had to block. He was always going out on a route. Coming in with this, Mike Shanahan, offensive system, you need tight ends that can block, and we like small. They like small receivers, fast receivers who have good route running. Mike Gesicki did have a couple of good grabs last year, but for the most part, he was a liability. Durham Smythe, on the other hand, he was our backup, and he was always in the packages when we were running the ball. So, obviously it's a lot easier for the defenses to read what you're doing, depending on who, your personnel you got out there, because they know Mike Gesicki blocks about as well as Tim Tebow. So, it is sad to see him go because he's had a lot of great moments for us, but...
that's incredible insight. Just as why they moved on from a great tight end, and they're just gonna obviously focus on the pass game more with their receivers, and Durham Smythe's gonna be just a dump off guy and block.
He's more of a Dalton Schultz type of guy.
Okay, that's a great comp. And then offensive line wise, here we got obviously Teron Armstead, Liam Eichenberg, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, Austin Jackson. I gave them a B. It would have been a C- had Teron Armstead not been there.
I would give it a C- regardless. I think that this offensive line is atrocious. I think that we're going to get our quarterback killed, possibly, especially with Liam Eichenberg out there. I like Connor Williams, and I love Robert Hunt, and obviously Teron Armstead is a beast. But Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson, those two guys, it's just one of those things where the GM cannot admit that he fucked up in the draft and drafted these guys as high as he did, because Liam Eichenberg was a second-round pick out of Notre Dame. And Austin Jackson was a first-rounder that...
He's out of USC, by the way.
USC, nobody really expected him to go in the first round, and he was a kind of a project. The project did not work out at all. And Chris Greer just seems like he wants to be right so bad that he doesn't want to go out there and look for offense.
Let's get into the defense. Front seven-wise, we got Christian Wilkins, who's obviously great. I like him a lot. Raekwon Davis... Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb as your two pass rushers. Love those guys as pass rushers. Yep. And then linebackers-wise, you did tell me earlier you didn't love the linebackers. I kind of like them with Jerome Baker, Dave Long, and then Channing Tindall, that linebacker out of Georgia last year, who's a project, obviously, but hopefully he'll step up in his sophomore year. Duke Riley sucks. All Falcons fans will forever know that. I think we took a second-round pick on Duke Riley.
Oh.
It took one game of tape for me to be like, what happened? Why second? Dude, I hate Duke Riley.
I like him as a depth piece.
I guess a depth piece,
I don't love him as a down-in and down-out backer, though. He's a little undersized.
But front seven grade-wise, I gave him a B+ here. I liked it a little more than I believe Porkisss is going to like it. But I just really like their pass rushers. Oddbaugh, obviously, for depth. Mm-hmm. And Van Ginkel, just a little depth, sub-in, sub-out guy.
Yeah, Van Ginkel's actually playing a little bit of inside linebacker, too.
Oh, okay.
Because, Tindall is struggling, from what I hear.
Okay, so Tindall's tough.
And Duke Riley is a bit of an athlete, but, he is undersized, and, he doesn't attack the ball very well. But I do like David Long Jr. That guy, already in the preseason and all throughout camp, has just been blowing up run plays left and right. That guy's going to be a beast. Jerome Baker, I have mixed feelings about him. I love, who he is as a leader on the defense.
Great,
but he's just, he's not very aggressive. He's more of a coverage linebacker, which I, could, with the new system, could be a little bit better. We're playing a lot more zone instead of man, so hopefully his coverage skills can shine a little bit better.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's get into the secondary here. don't know. You really like their secondary. I was a little down on the secondary. Not extremely down, but I like him. Obviously, Xavier Howard. There's not a lot to say about him. He's incredible.
Right.
Deshaun Elliott, incredible. Great pickup for him this year. Javon Holland is just. I am so upset that we picked the Falcons. We picked Richie Grant over Javon Holland and Trayvon Moehrig in that draft, and man, I wish we had Javon Holland because we could have had him.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry. And then obviously we got Kader Kahui. I don't know who that is. Cam Smith, obviously the nickel, and then Kelvin Joseph for depth. Grade wise, I give it a solid B. I think it's a good secondary, not great.
All right. Well, I would remind you that there are 2 Pro Bowlers on that team, multiple-time Pro Bowlers. Obviously,
Jalen Ramsey being hurt, yeah.
He might. I'm hearing stuff. He might come back a little bit sooner than expected.
Yeah, we can go ahead and talk about that injury right now.
Which would be awesome. Yeah, I mean, second day of training camp. I think it may have been his first time going against Tyreek Hill because, I mean, he turned and apparently he just went down and it was a meniscus injury and it was a partial tear. So they did do the surgery to do a full repair, but I think, 2 days after his surgery, he was walking around the practice field without crutches. So that gives me a lot of hope that he'll be back sooner rather than later. Best case scenario, I think. He comes back after the bye week. I think it's.
When is your bye?
I think it's around week 10. I could be wrong.
We can go look at it right now.
It's actually I like where our bye is this year.
Bye's week 10.
Yeah, week 10. Yeah, so I think he might be able to come after the bye, and that would be amazing because our schedule starts tough and it ends tough, and if there is any weak point in our schedule, it's in the middle. So hopefully we can get him back after then.
Yeah, but that'd be huge to get him back.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this defense, I mean, Deshaun Elliott, he's a beast. I think he's hurt a little bit, and Brandon Jones is coming back off of a knee injury last year. Brandon Jones is a monster. That guy is very, very underrated. He flies around everywhere. Javon Holland is obviously, I think, probably the best young safety in the league right now.
Probably, yeah.
There's a couple up there with him, but
yeah.
That guy, he doesn't have all the stats, but that guy runs the lane harder than anybody I've seen since
he does a lot.
Taylor Mays, I think. He hits like a truck. Obviously, Xavier Howard, he was dealing with a hamstring all year last year, groin hamstring. So, he took a bit of a step back after that 10 interception season, but I expect him to come back, have a great season in a new system because he is more of a natural zone corner, even though he's been following around number ones for the past 4 years.
So what grade would you give him differing to my B?
Oh, I think this is at least an A minus. But I would give it an A. These guys are monsters.
Without Jalen Ramsey?
Yeah, I mean Kader Kohu. I know you don't know
I
exactly
actually don't know who he is.
That guy was an undrafted rookie last year. Finished, I think it was either the top 15 or the top 10 in overall PFF grades for the quarterback position. So that guy, blew me out of the water. My expectations for what that kid could be. And then depth. I think we're good at depth. Nick Needham is also coming off an injury from last year, but that guy's a dog, especially in the slot. Elijah Campbell, he's all right. He gets burnt a little bit, but he's good. But I'm really excited for Cam Smith. I think he's going to be probably our future number 1 corner. This guy's really good, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
I think this guy's going to be really good. So.
Well, yeah. After hearing Porkis's take on the secondary and D line, I feel like my grades are a little. They should be a little swapped. I definitely would agree with him. I'd go. Or what would you give your front seven a B, or what would you give it?
Yeah, because I think just because of the question at linebacker, I would give it probably a B minus. I mean, we're not really good at getting home. We're really good at stopping the run, but we can't. We've struggled the past couple of years of getting quarterbacks on the ground. So
okay.
Now that we're not going to be as blitz heavy, that number might even go further down. So
okay, well B minus. Yeah, I have it as a B, and then I'm a little low on the secondary without Jalen Ramsey, just because obviously it's young. It's a young secondary without Jalen Ramsey.
Right.
So that's why I gave it. I'm going to change mine to a B plus.
There we go.
And
look at us.
Yeah, and then all right, let's talk about kind of just the key points on what we're going to see this season. I think teams are going to have an extremely hard time stopping the speed that Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Devon Achane bring to the table. I've already heard several reports that defensive coordinators are trying to figure it out, like how to do it, because last year it didn't work. Nothing worked last year. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek were incredible. They're loaded with explosive talent, I think, everywhere, even on defense with Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. I think they're two explosive athletes. Obviously, their secondary is pretty explosive and young.
Yeah, don't forget about Christian Wilkins there, too. That guy.
Oh, yeah, Christian Wilkins, yeah, I forgot about him. He's incredible. With every division game being a little losable, I think it makes non-division games really crucial to capitalize on. This is obviously the best division in the league. I'm worried about the cornerback depth. I guess not the depth anymore with Jalen being out, but I just think it's really young. My biggest concerns, I flat out have to say, is just Tua. I'm not a huge believer in him. And his injury bug, which obviously we're doing this without an injury bug, but that's obviously a huge concern you should have going into the season.
100%.
With that offensive line, it's going to be really, really scary. I do want to mention why I don't like Tua right now. I personally don't think I'm media-driven to dislike him.
I don't think so.
I've watched the tape. For me, I don't know. Everyone has their cup of tea at quarterback, right? He's just not my cup of tea. I don't see elite decision making, and I don't see elite improvisation with a big arm. And I feel like for me and my cup of quarterbacks, I like one or the two. I like in the pocket, elite decision making, march down the field. Tom Brady, obviously he's done it better than everyone. I think that's the best quarterback you can have, is a best game manager quarterback.
Right.
And Tom Brady did that as the highest level. That's why he's the GOAT.
Yep.
Or obviously you have your Patrick Mahomes, who did a lot better last year making decisions. But your Patrick Mahomes, your Josh Allen, your outside of the pocket improvising guys, the flash and dash, as a lot of people would call it.
Yeah.
One thing I've always said my whole life: no one gives Duke Puppy about the flash and dash. Okay, and that's just the truth. Well, no, a lot of people give Duke Puppy about it, but I don't. So that's why I don't like Tua, because I don't see him. He's not elite at either of those. He's kind of in the middle. And I just think when you're in the middle, obviously, and you're not elite at everything, you're a middle of the pack quarterback. You're not great, obviously.
Right. Okay, so I'm gonna change your mind on Tua. Okay, Bruce Lee once had a quote that he doesn't fear the man that practices one move or 1,000 moves once. He fears the guy who's practiced 1 move 1,000 times. And that is because Tua is so good at his being aware of where he's at in the pocket. His footwork is really good in the pocket. If you do turn on, I don't doubt you turned on the tape before, but this guy, when you see him move around the pocket, is smooth. He looks really good in there.
Pocket presence is very important.
He's very good, and his arm is not. It's definitely not the greatest. But I compare it to like a Drew Brees type of arm. He's got around the same build as Drew Brees, so I think, especially last year, we saw it, how he's able to run that RPO and just get people to bite with his head movement and with everything like that. I thought he played elite last year.
Okay, well, I only watched like 3 or 4 of his games last year, one being the Falcons game.
Right.
I think we won didn't we beat you guys last year, the Falcons?
I don't think we.
Oh no, not last year. Excuse me, the year before last year.
Excuse
me, yes,
ago.
and we did win.
That was one of Tua's worst games.
Okay,
yeah,
and that's good to know. And I saw that, and I was just like, okay, this tells me everything I need to know. This is why I don't like him.
Yep.
And now, obviously, I didn't watch all of his games that year.
Right.
But I'm going to be watching him a lot more this year, and I am very, very interested in just watch him and maybe just redo my analysis on him. I got one more hypothetical for you real quick before we just kind of break it down, summary, and what I think they're going to do for their season. Let's say Tua stays healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say he misses 3 weeks, okay, max.
Okay.
But Armstead goes down for the year.
Mm-hmm.
Is it over?
No.
No, a Super Bowl. I mean, is a Super Bowl over?
It could be, but I mean, once you get to the dance, anything can happen.
True,
so
yeah.
I think,
if they're hot, they're hot.
Yeah, I mean, and the way that
that's all it is in the NFL.
I mean, the way that we really play is, we do like to send guys down the field. Tua will hit them every once in a while, but what we really like are the crossing routes and just getting the ball out quick and letting our playmakers run with it. So, I do think that he brings so much to that offensive line in terms of leadership and lining people up and telling people where they need to go. So, I mean, that would be a huge loss, but it's definitely not as big of a loss as Tua would be.
Okay, well, yeah. Obviously, whenever you lose your quarterback, that's huge. I just think, in my opinion on that, let's say Armstead does go down for the year, I think it'd be really hard to get hot and get on a roll and make the playoffs with him out. And obviously they could, but it's just going to be so hard with the schedule they have. But
I agree.
I'm just going to get into what I predict how their season to go. I think they're going to have a solid season. I think they're a good team for sure. I think they're, for me, when I look at their roster and their quarterback, for me, I see they're on that line, that fine line of a solid playoff team, or maybe because they're in a really hard division, they unfortunately lose a couple games and don't make the playoffs. I feel like they're right there. This would be a very good team to not make the playoffs, so I just want to make that clear because of how good the division they're in.
Right.
And that's one thing I wanted to ask you. First question here on the board. Is Tua good enough to compete for the NFL's best division, which is the AFC East this year?
100%. I think so.
He thinks. I don't. He thinks so. He's seen way more of him out. I would take his word. He's also a little biased, which I am with the Falcons.
Little bit.
I mean, yeah. Where do the Dolphins stack in the division? If you had to rank teams just, let's say, pure talent-wise, and how they're going to be this year.
Oh, pure talent-wise, I think that we're probably 2 behind the Jets. But
better than the Bills, huh? Talent-wise.
Better than the Bills. I think the Bills lost a lot. I can't name everybody off top, but I think that Diggs' story is a lot bigger than people are making it out to be. I think there's going to be some problems there. Gabe Davis is going to have to step up.
So as far as losses, the Bills did not lose a whole lot. They did lose Isaiah McKenzie.
Tremaine Edwards.
Tremaine Edmonds, the linebacker. They did lose a lot, or a decent amount. I think the biggest reason why they could be potentially worse is I just heard a ton of bad things coming out with this offseason as far as I heard Josh Allen is having personal problems. He's been a mess in the locker room, at least he was for a couple of weeks. Take that with a grain of salt, obviously, who knows, but then what he's saying with Stephon Diggs, how can you be, just be fine with that when basically your wide receiver is, in a sense, not necessarily trashing your team, but in a sense is trashing your team.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that never turns out well.
No, it just doesn't look good. I hope it's fine, but within the NFL, when there's so many high egos, everyone thinks they're right. It's really hard to just rekindle that.
Yeah.
Are they a legit AFC Super Bowl contender?
I think so.
Okay, now let me rephrase what I mean by legit. Legit, I mean, going into the season, everyone should be worried about them as a Super Bowl contender, not a sleeper. I look at them as more of a sleeper Super Bowl contender. Mm-hmm. Could get hot, could go off, and I get to the Super Bowl. But do you think they're legit? Everyone should fear this team as a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, I think everybody does fear them too. I think half the teams in the AFC are legit Super Bowl contenders. To be completely honest.
The AFC stacked. It's ridiculous.
I think over half the teams in the AFC they have a path to win it, and I think that the Dolphins probably have. They're around 7th. There's probably 5-6 teams ahead of them. In my opinion, probably the Bengals, obviously the Chiefs. I think the Bills. I'll throw the. Who else is in? I'll throw the Ravens in there, and I hate to say it, probably New York. But after that, I don't think really anybody can hang with Miami as far as the speed goes, as far as our defense goes. Like, that defense is going to be so good this year.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So we're going to see next week, week 1 against the Air Bear. I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
That one's going to be good. We want some revenge for last year.
Against who, sorry?
The Chargers.
Yeah.
And Justin Herbert, the Air Bear.
Oh, is that what you call him?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Justin Herbert. I think he's a good guy.
one thing I just wanted to note with the AFC being this stacked this year, it's pretty wide open as far as who's gonna. I mean, obviously not wide open for the contenders on who's gonna get there. The playoffs are gonna be awesome to watch.
For sure.
But yeah, let's get into their schedule a little bit. I have them going 10-7. We're not gonna take too much time on the schedule. This is just kind of gonna be a summary. Schedules are so hard to predict in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there are going to be games. There are going to be teams in here that we think are going to be good that aren't going to be good. There's going to be games that are just going to be so different. So I'm just going to kind of go through my summary of it, where I think they win and lose, and then I'm going to have Porkisss do the same thing what he thinks their record's going to be. But real quick, I got at Chargers. I think that's a loss. That's just a tough road game to start your season. It's at. The only reason I put a loss there is it's at Los Angeles. Got them beating New England, beating Denver, splitting games with Buffalo, so at Buffalo, loss. Win in New York, win versus the Panthers, loss at Eagles, beating the Patriots again, sweeping them, losing to the Chiefs. Got the bye week there, which is nice, just after that very tough last 3 weeks with the Eagles, New England, and Kansas City. And then I'm beating the Raiders, losing to the Jets, beating the Commanders, beating the Titans, beating the Jets at home, losing to Dallas, losing to the Ravens at Baltimore, and then ending the season, beating Buffalo, which the way it's shaping out in my prediction here is that would be a huge game.
Oh, yeah.
That would be the difference between 10-7 and 9-8. That's a playoff team. That's a playoff difference in record.
Right.
That's just how mine goes, and I'll have him go ahead and just say what he thinks and what their record's going to be as well.
Yeah, so I think with what you got, I think we actually beat Dallas, and I also think we beat Baltimore to go 12-5. I think we finished the year strong with Ramsey coming back. I think Dallas is not. I don't think they're as good as people are saying they are. Baltimore, Tua is Baltimore's daddy. He hasn't lost to him. And, Kansas City, I think that game is also winnable because Kansas City is coming off of... that game is in Germany, and they're coming off of a week on the road on the West Coast, and I think it's a short week for them. So I think that we can actually get them in Germany that because we're coming off of a home game against the Patriots before that. So I think that we have, like, the scheduling, kind of meta advantage over that. But... yeah, I think we go 12-5. I think we take second, but I also think that might be enough. That record might be enough to win the East.
I think that record would be enough to win the East.
Yeah, I think we go 12-5. Maybe New York surprises me and goes 13-4. I could see Buffalo going 13-4 just because their track record. But yeah, we'll see. I'm super excited. I think this is the closest my team has ever been since I've been breathing. That the closest to seeing a championship. So I'd love that.
Heck yeah. That's basically it for just the Dolphins summary. Hope you guys liked it. If you have any comments, feel free to share them. Let us know.